Conservation and ecotourism company Wilderness Safaris has a market cap of 970 million rand. They operate camps and safaris in Botswana, Namibia, Malawi, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe and the Seychelles. Wilderness has a price earnings ratio of 15 and a dividend yield of 2.25%. Wilderness Safaris, where do we go with this one? An interesting little stock and perhaps a gem?
I went to the listing of this a couple of years ago in Johannesburg, but since then they've tended to have their presentations in Botswana, which makes things a little bit difficult, I guess, unless you're going to watch it on a webcast. Yeah, look, it's very much for the well-heeled tourist, the foreign tourist at that. I think their offering is very, very good. It's very upmarket, it's high quality. Interesting if you look at the ownership of this thing. You know, there's a couple of sports companies in the world called Adidas and Puma. Adi Dassler was one who founded Adidas, and his brother Rudi Dassler founded Puma. And the Puma Group have got 20% of this thing. So there's a strong German connection. The old Tolman Towers company, the family there, they've got a representation in this thing as well. So there's an interesting international connection in this one. Make no mistake, it's going to keep on going, and virtually regardless of what the economic conditions are. But you know, the last set of results were not particularly inspiring, so I think it's going to be difficult to get institutional interest going in this one.
But surely ecotourism could garner some support in the current environment, and they've just launched the rhino safari, or the rhino tour, so you can basically track the black rhino.
I like this story a lot, but the problems Chris alluded to are real. It's got a Botswana thing, it reports in Pula. So, you know, for most people, that's like, oh, what is that about?
Does that mean just don't go there? Is that really, because they report in Pula, no. It's a negative element?
No, I wouldn't go so far. Look, it's great because they do the whole thing. They do the travel booking, they do the logistics, they own that Sefofane charter air, which flies people in and out of the camps. They've got all the camps all over the place. They don't tend to own the land on which the camps are located. Very clever. You just kind of put these low impact tented camps and so on. Because South Africans think that we must be the best tourist destination in the universe, but we're not, because we're too far away from the people that have money, who are in Europe and North America and, you know, Asia and so on. So to get here is expensive, so that really only means the top-end tourism packages are going to work. And then also, of course, all the African visitors. We always forget about our visitors from Africa, but they're the ones that really constitute our main, you know, user base from SA tourism's point of view, but we tend to ignore people, even though they're the ones that are buying everything at our malls and shopping up a storm at our premier Joburg destinations. Wilderness is a fantastic opportunity. They listed in 2010 and it was just a disaster because the 2011 thing was a mess because nobody was coming here because of the recession and all of that. But I think this is going to do well. The problem is, as Chris says, it's 70% held by all sorts of shadowy families that were in this thing before and are still in this thing. It hardly trades on our local market. There are all sorts of confusions. But I think this could be a great growth business for the future. And I know the couple of the guys are in the management team and they're fabulous. So I think
I hope none of the shareholders are watching. Shadowy families, I'm sure they're not going to like that adjective. Chris, what could they do to make you invest?
Well, I think they first of all come back and actually do a few more presentations in Johannesburg and let us get you know, a touch and a feel of this thing. We've seen it. We've got a taste for it. I don't think there's any doubt about it, as Paul says, that it's high quality, it's good, and it will keep on attracting, you know, visitors year after year after year, particularly Germans and other European visitors, and as he said, the African air arrivals too. But yeah, I think they've got to do something on the PR front.
It's the investor relations issue.
Yes, absolutely.
They've got to get out their roadshow, their offering, and get the fund management environment buying into the opportunity here.
Look, it's a bit on the small side for the institutional. As Paul says, you've got 70% of it or thereabouts tied up in the hands of a relatively small band of investors there. So it doesn't leave much for the institutional market.
Let's go with this one. Hot or not, Wilderness Safaris.
Look, if they don't want to report in rands, they can report in US dollars. But I agree, let's get it down here, let's get it more visible. But it is only ever going to be the sort of holding for the intrepid investor that's a little more risk tolerant. I think the earnings are always going to be variable based on currency variations and so on. But I like it. I think it's a hot story. I think ecotourism as an opportunity long term, it's hot.
Hot or not?
Not at this point in time. I can't get too enthusiastic, but I understand what Paul's saying. I like the company, but at this point in time, no, I don't think it's that hot.
Your story wasn't convincing enough there for Chris.